time for the ride home in ENC.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
This is your 5 o'clock drive with Patrick Johnson.
Holy mackerel!
More news, more interviews, more ECU stories than you can shake a stick at. Hey, stop shaking that stick. This is the Patrick Johnson Show.
Pirates win! Pirates win!
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, hello again, everybody, and welcome. It is the lead up to America 250, and it is the Patrick Johnson Show here.
This is America, Jack.
Yes, sir, it is.
Do it live.
And we are.
Do it live.
On this Monday. All right, for all the Billy Trott fans out there, we've had to move things off of with our interview for him for a second time, which I feel really bad about because he's a great guy and it's a great book that he's written on Pete Maravich. But as we often do here on the program, I mean, we are flexible and always trying to stay on the cutting edge and provide commentary and analysis on news. And there's certainly been a couple of major news items that have come forth today. A lot of it sort of occurred last night with the news of the budget. So we're going to be talking to Andrew Pomerantz from Carolina Journal, who follows the budget. A couple of items there, including ECU athletics receiving what appears to be additional sports gambling tax revenue money and no stadium money for the possibility of bringing MLB to Raleigh. So we're going to talk to him about that coming up. As you see, if you're with us, the vast video audience, Jay Sunholder is on the screen and on the phone. Sonny, of course, ESPN college football analyst, ESPN Plus college basketball analyst for ECU. We're going to talk to Sonny in just a minute. So, Pilk, if you'll come back to me, Sonny, hang tight. We're going to tell you and play some audio from the announcement this morning of Chris Johnson. Now, this happens this morning while I'm on the air with Henry at Talk of the Town. When I say this happens, Chris Johnson, All-American running back at ECU and a Pro Bowl running back during his time in the NFL, came forth with an interview that he has been diagnosed with ALS. And it's very shocking. Chris is a young guy. I don't even think he's 40 yet. If he is, he's just turned 40. And we all remember Chris Johnson, not only in Greenville, his spectacular senior season, but what he was able to do as an NFL player. And you could certainly make the argument in the time period he was in the NFL, he was maybe the most dynamic running back in the league. Certainly for a couple seasons, he was the best running back in the NFL at a time where they were starting to be phased out. So you can imagine how shocking it is that someone who was a world-class athlete continues to be in really good health and fitness, from what we understood, would be diagnosed with this terrible disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. And we've got some of the clips from the interview. It was announced on Good Morning America. Again, I was on the air at the time of this morning. We were talking about things with the budget. We were talking about this story that happened in Bertie County, where inmates apparently took over the Martin Bertie prison in Windsor. And I believe that situation has since been resolved, thankfully. So you can imagine lots of big things to talk about on a Monday leading into a holiday week. And then this Chris Johnson news comes forward. So I was unable to see the actual announcement on Good Morning America until the video. And so I didn't know what kind of state Chris was in when he made the announcement, but obviously the disease has progressed. And it is stark to see him in the video of this because Chris, again, was such a dynamic and special athlete. And you have that vision of him in your mind's eye. So this is some of the audio from that. Michael Strahan, who's been on Good Morning America now for almost a decade, conducted the interview with Chris Johnson, who made the announcement, the former Pirate, about ALS. So we're going to play some of the excerpts from that for you here in a montage, in a sense, and then get Jay Sunholder's reaction as they played college football together here at ECU. But this is from Good Morning America this morning.
First, I want people to know that I'm still me. ALS has changed what my body can do, but it hasn't changed who I am.
In 2025, at the age of 39, Johnson was diagnosed with ALS. the disease progressing so rapidly that he now uses his eyes to trigger a speech-generating device to speak.
Why do you want to share this now?
Because if sharing my story helps even one person get diagnosed sooner, inspires more research, or gives another family hope, then it's worth it.
Let's go back to last year. When did you notice that something was off?
I first noticed weakness in my right hand. At first, it was little things like my grip didn't feel right, and I wasn't as strong as I've always been.
His wife, Brittany, thought it was something much simpler.
Brittany, what did you think it was at the time?
I thought because of football and, his career, that it had to be something with that, maybe a pinched nerve or something along those lines, but never ALS.
That's one of the reasons this disease can be so shocking. It can happen to someone who never expected it.
And for me, it's shocking. It's hard to process it for me because I know you, Chris, from just the incredible athlete that you are. How do you process it?
Honestly, I don't know if you ever fully process it. At first, you're in shock. Then you realize you have two choices. You can give up or you can fight. I chose to fight.
Or you wish people understood about living with ALS?
That your mind stays sharp. People sometimes look at the physical disability and assume you're not still the same person inside. I still think the same. I still dream. I still love my family. My body just doesn't cooperate.
What are the doctors telling you about the treatment and the progression?
Having doctors who are willing to collaborate and explore every reasonable option has meant a lot to my family and me. Right now, there isn't a cure, but we're seeing more research, more clinical trials, and more promising ideas than ever before. Seeing how hard these doctors and researchers are working gives me hope. As long as they're fighting for people with ALS, I'm going to keep fighting too.
What's remarkable about that is Chris again was using kind of what Keith LeClaire used, which was a computer screen that allows him to communicate with his eyes. His eyes have not been impacted. He can still move. So he is able to do that. And as they said in the piece, they took his voice and recorded it before. So that is why he is able to mimic Chris's voice essentially in his responses, even though he's controlling it with the screen with his eye. As much as AI, and I'm assuming there's an AI element to this, is bad, and there's a lot of things to be concerned about it. That is a remarkable, technological breakthrough that you're able to have your voice when communicating and not sounding robotic at all. As we mentioned earlier, Jay Sunhalder, who played football with Chris Johnson at East Carolina, has been good enough to come on today and speak a little bit about this. Sonny, certainly know you and a lot of your teammates that I've seen post messages and communicated with are certainly shocked by this diagnosis. So what was your reaction when you found this out this morning?
Yeah, it was, Patrick, well, first of all, thanks for having me. It was shocking. It was, devastating, and it was hard to process. Somebody that you've shared so many great memories with and spent so much time together when you're in college. It was just, it really was hard to, to see just, somebody, somebody you care about and see how their life has changed, and the way it has for Chris. And then you hear, him talk through, his new communication, and you hear that voice, and you hear his wife talking, and just the hope they have, and the belief and positive outlook they have, and such a tough new life for him, and that gives you such positive belief and prayer, and really, just, I think the biggest thing is everybody after seeing that is praying for Chris and thinking about him. And that's what it does. It just brings you to God and hope for a miracle and hope for healing, hope for, his health to continue to, to give him an opportunity to be there with his family and his kids. But to me, it was very sad. But then it also, brought me to God to pray for him. And I think that's how everybody felt.
It's interesting, Sonny, that you have various things happen in life, and you have guys that you were part of a team, and you have forever have that bond because of all the battles, because of all the time spent together, all the time in the locker room, and the conditioning and all that. So there is a bond within these teams and within sports that, like a lot of things in life, is kind of a forged forever situation. So I have to imagine that while you do, I'm sure, stay in touch with a lot of your teammates, you would like to stay in touch with them more than you do. I have to imagine there's been that aspect too. You guys have maybe you've communicated with people perhaps you've not talked to in a while, and while you would love that to be in other circumstances, that is a positive of this. It allows you to reconnect. So I'm just curious to what some of those conversations or text messages have been like here in the last several hours today.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people that I haven't spoken with or texted with, we have texted today, and I think it just goes to show you that everybody's, with Chris, behind Chris, and how many people care about him. But, it also just shows you, that it could happen, something could happen to any of us, and nothing is guaranteed for any of us. It just brings, I think, everybody you care about closer together when you see somebody that, like you said, you've shared so much with, going through this battle that he's going through. And I think it kind of opens everybody's eyes and brings them to what's really, important. And that's, being there for each other. That's, praying. That's, putting your faith in God and being there to support, as one. And, it was nice to just see how many people have put things out there or texted, on social media and in every form, just to see how many, people love him and how many people he impacted, because he is that type of person. Anybody that has met him knows he lights up a room. And I mean, everybody I know, when you bring up his name, will have a story about just how he's always, such a bright light. And that's something, that I think, all those memories of when you're in college together, or, his teammates in the NFL, everybody remembers those great times that you share, on a football field or in the locker room and all those sort of things. And, I just know for him, now he's got 4 kids and a wife, and you just, pray for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously a great player, a dynamic player, a championship and high-level professional player. When you kind of remember your time with him in college at East Carolina, what are some things that particularly stand out to you that you'll always have as fond memories of being a teammate of Chris's now and forever?
Well, it's with him on a football field, or him off the field in the locker room, the things that a lot of fans don't get to see, or things you kind of know from being behind the scenes, are, not only was he the fastest person on the field by far. I mean, he made other guys that, would run a 4.4 look slow. I mean, he was a different level of fast. He's track Olympic speed fast. I mean, he had an extra gear that I've never seen before. But another thing about him was he was extremely strong. And, in college, he was still growing and had a lean, strong build. But he, in the weight room, he was a powerhouse. He could lift very heavy. He was extremely smart on the football field. And I played fullback my senior year, so in H-back. So I was in a lot of situations where him and I were together in the backfield, and him and I would talk about who we were getting as far as blocking assignments or what we were seeing, with plays developing. And he was just brilliant on that football field. Could read defenses, and he's a guy that like I said, he was versatile. He could run the ball, but he moved to wide receiver. He could play out in the slot. He could do all those things. And, just seeing him when he came in as a freshman, and we graduated the same year, and our final game was the Wide Bowl year. but I saw him kind of, grow as a freshman, when we came in and throughout his whole career, and just somebody that everybody on the team loved, and he was so popular, and I know the fans loved him, and, what he did at the NFL level was just, amazing how he took the league over and, all his accomplishments in the NFL. But, I know at ECU, it was a special time when we were all together, and I know all his teammates feel the same way.
Hey, Sonny, I know it's been a very emotional and tough day for you and other folks around ECU football and ECU athletics and the fans, and very stunning news to receive that this morning. And I think one thing to echo what Michael Strahan said in that piece, and I would also say it here, to have the courage and the need to want to put this out there in the public sphere. If anything, to be an advocate for research and more research dollars and the work towards finding a cure. That's something that I think we all have to commend, and that's not easy to do, especially anytime an athlete wants to show some vulnerability or weakness. That can be a tough thing to do. So, Sonny, thank you for the time here, and I just want to give you a final word here before we say goodbye to you.
Yeah, no, and that's a great feedback that you just gave. For him to have the interview and kind of bring that to the world, to bring focus on ALS, and he said it in the interview to contribute and to ALS and the research and the hope he has, and how there's breakthroughs and in the medicine and what they're doing, and just that outlook. And things happen in life, and he said it, you can either give up or you can fight, and he is fighting. And I think through that interview you could see that he's using this terrible thing and trying to bring out the positive or the good in it, and to bring awareness to help other people. And he said it, if it helps people to go get checked earlier on, that is something that he is hoping to do. So yeah, we're all thinking of him, and I know it's a tough day, but I know, and you could hear it through his comments and what he was saying, that he's going to fight it, and just gives you hope and know that he's going through it together with a strong family. So we're thinking of him and praying for him. And Patrick, thank you for the time.
Yeah, absolutely, Jay Sonhalter. Thank you, Sonny, very much. Good to hear from you again. We'll talk to you really soon. All right, so Jay Sonhalter with us here during what has certainly been a stunning and emotional day for a lot of folks that knew and admired Chris Johnson for his athletic prowess, but also know him for the person that he is and the teammate that he was. And we are giving our best at this time to Chris Johnson and his family. Speaking of which, ALS and Mike Mullis has been involved in an initiative as well. Mully, they had an event last week in Greenville, I understand very successful, and towards ALS research, and it's part of a charity that provides mobility chairs for ALS patients, and that are unable to maybe afford that, or their insurance will not provide it for them. And so that is something that Mike Mullis has kind of been involved in here in the last several months. I spoke with him today, and they had a very successful fundraising initiative, and without getting into the details of it, some participation from the LeClairs here in Greenville, Coach Godwin. So really good stuff there, and we were very happy. I was very happy to hear all that today as I talked to Mike about this, but also the success of that particular fundraising golf event here in Greenville. All right, we'll pause here, shift gears. The other big story that we are following today, and that is the budget in North Carolina appears imminent. And there's some sports aspects, sports gambling revenues, what East Carolina and other similar institutes are receiving. And then also where things are with money going towards a Major League Baseball stadium in Raleigh in an effort to secure a MLB expansion franchise. So we're going to talk to Andrew Pomerantz with the Carolina Journal. We'll get him on the phone. He'll give us the very latest on that coming up right after this on this Monday Patrick Johnson Show for June 29th.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers in Greenville, plus the all-new Tiebreakers in Winterville. Do real burgers better than anybody. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, real burgers at its best.
Everybody loves burgers.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
We're back to the show.
We all missed you. Did you miss him?
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
What continues to be a noteworthy day here in North Carolina, and what we thought was going to be our top and lead story today prior to the Chris Johnson news of his diagnosis was the budget getting passed in North Carolina. And, of course, we handle all of that on Talk of the Town, as you know. But we have a couple of key sports items, one that certainly affects ECU, one that certainly is very interesting for the state, and some recent news, and Carolina Journal reporter Andrew Pomerantz, who is following this for Carolina Journal, but also has followed, like we have, with keen interest, the sports gambling and Major League Baseball receiving money for a possible stadium in Raleigh. All of that has obviously been affected here, and not in ways that we were led to believe this time last week. So Andrew, who's with Carolina Journal, is a reporter covering the state capitol, joins us to talk about that. Andrew, great to have you on the program. Really nice to catch up with you. I know what's been a busy time.
Yeah, hey, Patrick. Thank you so much for having me on today. It's been a crazy week down here at the General Assembly, and multiple weeks now leading up to what should be an exciting budget week here. As Monday at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. now, we are still waiting on a final budget document to drop, hopefully later tonight or early tomorrow morning. But exciting as we get prepped for that presentation of the budget as more and more details continue to come out.
There were murmurs, Andrew, that there would be, and this is often the case, the celebratory kind of press conference once the budget deal is reached. But you said something to me off the air as we started this phone call, and I could say it, you could say it, however you want to go. But apparently, because of one specific item that sports fans are very interested in, things got maybe a little salty.
Yeah, I think a number of items, I want to make sure I'm careful here, a number of items may be holding up maybe a traditional budget press conference. And, we did see a joint press conference back in the middle of May when they announced the budget framework. But over this weekend, as more and more news came out about the budget, we started to hear that MLB expansion, the money for the budget, or money for a stadium, was not in the budget, and something that Senate Leader Phil Berger, going back to mid-June now, has been preaching, especially after the attention the Canes got after the Stanley Cup and all the additional economic incentives that they brought with them with the Stanley Cup back to Raleigh. So a talking point that in the General Assembly he's continued to bring up. From the get-go, there was speculation from House leadership and Speaker Hall's office about bringing this allocating additional revenue, to setting forward a stadium and starting to build that process up. And we heard proposals all the way from $500 million to $1.7 billion in a framework introduced over this weekend that the Senate leader and his office laid out. And but as this budget process continued on, it became more and more clear that Speaker Hall and the House was less interested in allocating this money in the budget. And so over this past yesterday and into today, we heard that money is not going to be in the final budget draft here, and that MLB will not be receiving funds at this time. Now, Speaker Hall's office did not shut down the idea of funds being in a later budget, but expressed concern until we have an expansion team committed to come to Raleigh, dedicating those funds and taking them away from other potentially economic development projects.
Interesting. Andrew Pomerantz is with us from Carolina Journal covering the state budget. It has been agreed to. We expect there will be some form of a documentation or documents, I should say, on this maybe tonight, tomorrow morning, at some point within the next 24 hours, probably less than that. And there are a couple big sports items. MLB is one of them. The other, just to use shorthand, the sports gambling revenues, which we'll get to in a second, because that obviously has some effect on East Carolina as well. I want to talk a little bit more about this expansion and that money, Andrew. What I find interesting is how that it totally went away. And I think back, we talked about the joint press conference. There was also, if I recall correctly, and I'm sure you were there, if not, you've probably seen the video, where it was Phil Berger, who this is his final session in the legislature for now. Berger is there kind of holding court on the floor of the Senate about this particular topic. This was not mentioned in the aforementioned joint framework conference in May. So what I find interesting, was Berger maybe kind of riffing on his own here a little bit without consultation with Hall, or was this anything more than maybe Berger just kind of spitballing out loud in a sense?
Yeah, I think that may be fair to say. When this initial proposal came up and he was asked about, what may be holding the budget up, this is something that he brought up on his own. The first mention of it back on the House floor in the middle of June, or the Senate floor, sorry, in the middle of June. It was met with some surprise by House leadership, and I think they began to answer questions immediately, and immediately I think showed a little bit more hesitation about the topic. But there was a lot of excitement at the moment with the Stanley Cup just being won, and with all the excitement around that and the parade, and so. It's a topic that, I think he may have been ahead of the House on, and something that, wasn't added until in the budget negotiations until late in this process. I've heard that, this wasn't even brought up until June. I mean, this budget process now goes back, we just hit 1,000 days since our last budget. And so we're going back now multiple years. And the first mention of it was less than 30 days before a final draft, was required before the fiscal year starts the middle of this week on July 1st. And so something that I think Senator Berger in his last term may have seen as an opportunity to go out with a bit of a bang. but it doesn't seem like at this point that that's going to be something that's included in the final budget.
Again, and this is just speculative on my part, was this also maybe a negotiating ploy from Berger to do some horse trading on? I mean, easy to drop this because, as you say, there's no firm commitment from MLB on any expansion city at this point. There was a lot of excitement surrounding the Canes Cup victory. And so I kind of wonder, was this maybe something that was, because they did give more money. They wound up with more money going to the Children's Hospital in Apex, which has, risen some eyebrows and created a little bit of controversy.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if it was. And so, this issue is something that I think he became pretty passionate about. If you read some of the news stories of the past week, you hear genuine plans that he and his office put together and put out. And so I don't necessarily think it was maybe a horse trading situation here, but maybe something that, his office became aware of later in the process, and something that, they've been looking for opportunities to kind of cement his legacy, whether that is something like through the Children's Hospital, which you mentioned. And so anyway, I think to make sure that he goes out with a bang, they were looking for opportunities to do so. They saw this opportunity at this moment with the Hurricanes and the attention they were getting, and with some of this, Tom Dundon going on air and mentioning MLB expansion again in Raleigh. And so I think maybe more of a moment made Phil Berger become maybe incentivized by the attention of the moment and what he thought was momentum on the issue. But at this point in the budget process, I think it was just too late. And I think, until we have a firm commitment, the House seems unwilling to act.
Gotcha. Andrew Pomerantz is with us here. We could talk about this topic all day, and it might be more what we do speculatively with sports. I just kind of wonder what this does to MLB and its prospects of Raleigh, which did seem, maybe it was locally, to have some momentum in this process. I still think it's got a better shot than Charlotte, but I frankly don't think North Carolina would get included on this go-around. With all that said, let's turn our attention to another budget item that has ties to sports, and that is the hike in sports gambling revenue, which we've talked about on this program. That is a thing. What have you been able to derive from that? Before we get into the payment parts, what has been the reaction, if any, from the interest of the sports betting apps and companies, and what can you maybe tell us about this, where this additional revenue may be used? I guess this all comes down to it has exceeded projections. We've obviously heard about some people maybe hyping the numbers. I'm very cynical with a lot of this, Andrew, as you can tell, but I wonder too how much maybe they sandbagged on the numbers, because this has been so popular, and it would be easy to come back later if you sandbag on the projections and say, all right, well, look, this is doing better than we ever expected, so let's now raise the tax to what it is in other states, and nobody would fight it too much or bat an eyelash from the provider part.
Yeah, well, it's probably best to be a cynical sports bettor, if it was my opinion there. I'm the opposite lens, and so usually find myself on the wrong end of sports betting. But in terms of the state government this year, we're looking at a tax increase, and we first reported on this a couple weeks ago over at the Carolina Journal. But since March of 2024, right, the state's brought in $287 million in tax revenue from sports gambling alone, and so. Currently, there's an 18% gross wagering revenue. So you're talking about 18% tax on the actual platforms for sports betting. What they're talking about doing, and what we believe is in the budget at this point, and again, expecting the budget bill later this afternoon or early tomorrow morning, is increasing that rate from 18% on those marketing platforms up to 23%. And so you have about a 5% increase, and as you can imagine, when you're talking about $300 million or so in tax revenue, 5% is a large bump. And so from everything we're understanding over at the Carolina Journal and conversations we're having, that money is going to be redirected into Carolina's athletics. So whether that be UNC or NC State in those athletic departments, and allowing them to offer potentially more NIL funds, potentially doing revenue or capital projects. And so taking that money and dumping back into athletic programs of the universities that a lot of us are now making those bets on. And so just another opportunity. This is a source of revenue that was rumored to be used for the baseball stadium. Obviously, a much smaller pool of money than what was actually required or rumored to be had for the baseball stadium. And so, but something that I think the college athletics programs will benefit largely from. And I think, that 18 to 23% raise is not something that, we've seen DraftKings or the other sports books super against. I think acknowledging that brings us into more of a more in line with national tax rates on these sports books. And so something that we've not seen huge pushback on, and something I think will benefit Carolina, as in the Carolina University athletics moving forward.
So the reports are that the allocation is equal among the FBS playing football schools in the state, i.e., as you mentioned, UNC, NC State, and of course, App, Charlotte, and East Carolina, who we cover closely, are both are all included in that. So, East Carolina with its brethren, App and Charlotte, were receiving roughly about $2 million a year, from what we understand. At least that's what East Carolina was receiving. That does triple, almost triple, to, if you believe the reports, $5.8 million. I've heard some things today. Well, that could go up, but I think at this point some folks may be smoking the hopium. But I do know this: NC State lobbied hard to get a lot of this money into their coffers because North Carolina and North Carolina State were not receiving that any revenue from the gambling money. And so to me, it's a little bit of a loss because, they were looking at 20 to 25 million, according to what I understood NC State was, because they were very wisely trying to hitch their wagon to the UNC efforts. And then there was talk as recently as last week at this time that it was going to be closer to 15 million for North Carolina and NC State, and maybe 11 to 12 million for East Carolina, App, and Charlotte. So this is a big drop from where, obviously the aspirations were to what was being talked about a week ago to what the reality is. Any idea why this number, again, that's been reported, we've not seen the actual documentation, but this roughly 6 million per, any analysis or thoughts why that was the number settled on? Again, because even at the numbers we were hearing last week, potentially for East Carolina, that's half of what some thought they may receive. So that seems like a pretty drastic drop, and certainly nowhere near what UNC and NC State were seeking.
Yeah, I think first off, I think that's a conservative estimate, right? It's always better to aim low and then come through. And so I think as we continue to see the state of North Carolina hit their gambling projections or revenue projections from sports betting, which we continue to exceed, right, year over year, I think we will see that number be higher. And so I think this was the state saying, at the current level, this is how much, but we expect it to increase naturally just using this formula. And secondly, we see, I think, a lot of this money, and I'm curious to see the final numbers on it, but will be taken out of that additional revenue and, reinvested into things like gambling addiction treatment and education programs and statewide youth athletic programs. And so, as these numbers get bigger and bigger, I think you hear more and more of an outcry from localities and, parks and rec departments and state agencies and saying, hey, we've got a bigger pool now. We would like more as well. And, it's important to invest in your athletic programs, absolutely. But we'd also like to see that spent in, youth sports and things like addiction treatment and education. So, I think it's an interesting formula that they'll continue to tweak with and work on. But I do think those revenues will continue to increase into the future. And I wouldn't be surprised that at this time next year, they're receiving a lot more than currently what is projected.
Well, as long as it's not, from the ECU perspective, such a huge disparity from UNC and NC State, I think that's fine. And I do credit guess the House that really wanted to kind of keep it uniform among the 5 FBS schools. I think that's a positive thing. Hey, Andrew, really good stuff from the sports perspective on this budget. We're expecting it to wrap up in some form or fashion this week. Really appreciate you. I know this is something you follow closely as well. So a great amount of interest and expertise on your part on speaking towards it. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon.
Yeah, appreciate the time. And as we go through this process, you all can follow along at carolinajournal.com. We'll have updates as the budget continues to go through this week.
Yeah, it goes beyond sports. It affects everybody, so something certainly to keep an eye on. Andrew, thank you so much. All right, there he goes, Andrew Pomerantz. We'll take a timeout and come back and have more, some of the other stories from the weekend, and even some from today that we'll discuss. It is the Patrick Johnson Show on this final Monday of June.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Need cash for a vacation? National Finance Company is here to help. For over 50 years, National Finance Company has been the small loan specialist with loans from $1,000 to $5,000 with low payments to meet your budget. We're in the business of getting you the cash you need today. Apply online for a loan at one of our convenient branch offices and get your money as fast as today. It's easy. Get the vacation cash you need. For extra cash, visit nfcmoney.com.
Beep, beep. Move over, Buttercup. We're back to the show.
We're back! And I love them!
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
All right, it has been a certainly full day of coverage here of a couple big stories going on, and we appreciate the guests who have come on with us here. Philip is in, and we are going to be doing a full coverage week, so we'll be here with all of our daily programming today through the end of the week, and then for the sports side, a hiatus next week. That will extend for a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, maybe a little longer, who knows? But that seems to be the plan. We plan to come back about the time that with the sports side when camp starts. It's interesting. I picked up today in a store, was shopping for some other things, and picked up the Lindy's, which I think has already been out for a while. College football magazine. It's a good magazine, but Lindy's not high on the Pirates, and for no other reason than 24 transfers in. I mean, there's just a lot of unanswered questions. So I'm going to dig into that a little more, and we'll obviously draw from that and some other things as we get ready for the college football season. Billy Trott was supposed to be with us today. We're going to have Billy tomorrow. Anything short of Pilk being named the commissioner of the NFL, we will do Billy Trott tomorrow.
Oh,
you need
Patrick,
to be the commissioner of MLB.
Oh my goodness! I want to be commissioner of the NFL. There are going to be some changes. Okay. Be ready for a 13-minute Super Bowl halftime to be the first one, but there are going to be a lot of changes if I'm commissioner of the NFL.
But we'll have Billy Trott on. He's written the book on Pete Maravich, and we'll have Billy on tomorrow. Our old friend T-Bone, Travis Hancock from WFNZ out in Charlotte, he's going to be with us on Wednesday. What's interesting about that is the Hornets dealt another piece over the weekend. Bridges has been traded to Phoenix. Now Grayson Allen comes in. How many Dukies is that now on the they used to be the Bob Heels back in the day, or the Tarcats, depending on what you want to say. When they came back actually as the Bobcats, and then MJ took over, and they were still brought in a bunch of UNC guys, but all of a sudden we got a bunch of Dukies on that roster, right?
Yes, Sion James, Con Knipple, Grayson Allen. I think that's it, because I know Plumlee's with the Spurs.
There was another one. Okay.
Williams was there. Mark Williams, but he's out in he's out west now. I want to say Phoenix. I think they dealt him last year to Phoenix.
Is he in Phoenix or is he in Dallas? I thought he went somewhere like anyway. A lot of Duke Blue in Charlotte. So what the hell's going on in Charlotte? What are they trying to accomplish? We'll talk about that and some other sports items with Travis Hancock coming up. Let's see. Some good news received just the other day. Sarah Stone has been cleared for an extra year of eligibility by the NCAA. She was kind of a utility player for softball and got hurt early in the season. And we lamented many times that ECU softball, what made it amazing is that basically the punch was taken out of their lineup when she went down with the season-ending injury. And having her back and some of the transfers they brought in, they look to be returning to a more productive lineup. Had a good conversation with Shane Winkler today. He's very excited about this and says it's coming together, the roster and the Sarah Stone thing. Now, I personally thought because of the NCAA putting all of their efforts and concentration into the 5-in-5 decree that they would not get around to these type of appeals until almost August. But I guess somebody at the NCAA was on the ball. Somebody's pining for a raise there in Indianapolis, pining for a promotion. They were on the ball and they got this in. I think Sarah was a little concerned, but hey, good thing that this is the case and this has happened. So I think it'll make a big difference next year to what looks like a more offensive roster potentially.
Yeah, I mean, credit the NCAA for doing this too, because a lot of these student athletes who are applying for this have a degree, right? So it's, do I want to go to grad school if I'm not going to play said sport next year? And if the answer is no, they need to know that so they can go look for a job, right? So this is something that needed to be done sooner rather than later. I'm with you, PJ. I did not think we'd be sitting here on June 29th having a Sarah Stone conversation, but I'm glad we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So congrats to her. Great young lady. Victor Hovland captured another PGA Tour title, taking out Scotty Scheffler in a one-hole playoff to win the Travelers Championship. That was contested this morning. Hovland earned the victory after Scheffler failed to birdie the 18th. The 28-year-old Hovland improves to 2-0 in playoff rounds, his 8th career win on the tour, and both players finished atop the leaderboard after 4 rounds at 21 under. Neither guy played particularly well, I didn't think, Sunday. And then they had a weather delay in Cromwell, which, by the way, I've always thought that's a lousy tournament. It's an elevated event, so it ends up with a good field, and it's such a lousy, uninspired golf course. I mean, if you like red numbers in the double digits, great. But I kind of like, if we're going to play elevated events, there needs to be a little challenge to it.
Patrick, how many times yesterday, well, all week, and every time you watch this, it's like after a normal tee shot, he has a sand wedge in his hand to go into the green, and the guy sticks it from like 4 feet and then walks up there and taps in for birdie. It's like, well, that was very anticlimactic birdie this dude just made. Well, guess we'll go on to the next hole.
Scotty Scheffler is still tops on the money list, still the number one player in the world, and the thinking is he's had a bad year. Pretty crazy, huh?
FedEx Cup, number 1, 2. Would you and I were talking this morning, what, 350, 360, I think ahead of Matt Fitzpatrick in the points there.
Yeah, it's
like
over
that.
300 points, yeah. So, and then John Daly, what was this? What are they playing this weekend? Was this the Hooters thing, or what was this?
This was the senior PGA, wasn't it?
Okay, and what exactly, was this in Myrtle Beach, or was this somewhere else?
I can't remember, but to set this up, so after Friday, he was 7 under, 5 strokes off the lead, tied for 6th or 8th place, somewhere in there. And here's what was asked.
Have you been working on anything in particular recently that just helped you kind of get here today?
I haven't seen a driving range in 5 years. No, I don't work at my golf game at all. No.
Haven't seen a driving range in 5 years.
He shot a 61 on Saturday. He doesn't need to go to the driving range. That was a great comment. The only thing that had been better, he'd taken a drag off a lung dart, but I guess he wasn't smoking on that. All right, we're going to hit a break, and we're going to come back and wrap up today's show, set you up for the rest of the week in some additional details, so stay with us.
The power of savings is yours at Greenville Toyota with powerful deals on our huge selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or the all-new RAV4, $279. Don't miss the power of savings at Greenville Toyota.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's cut in color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Visit Larry's Steakhouse for a tender, hand-cut certified Angus ribeye. Other entrees include perfectly seasoned pork chops, chicken, or seafood favorites like shrimp, tuna, and salmon. Complement your meal with Larry's fresh 20-plus item salad bar, or enjoy it as an all-you-can-eat entree. Daily rotating favorites include meatloaf, chicken pastry, hamburger steak, spaghetti, pork chops, and more, all complemented with your favorite country sides. Whether it's for lunch, dinner, or our Sunday brunch, remember to support and eat local. Larry's Steakhouse.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
The hunting and fishing event of the summer comes to the Greenville Convention Center, July 11th and 12th, bringing together the best hunting and fishing vendors, outfitters, and fishing experts, all under one roof. Special free events, including a mountain trout pond, indoor archery range, offshore fishing experience, interactive duck blind, and free seminars. Don't miss it. The Mid-Atlantic Hunting and Fishing Expo is July 11th and 12th.
With new Toyota trucks from $259 a month, you've got the power of savings at Greenville Toyota. Drive Tacoma's $259 a month or Tundra's only $399 a month at Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
And now, the stunning conclusion.
Why is everyone screaming?
On 94.3 The Game.
This is America, Jack.
Damn right. America 250. And we'll be celebrating all week because we are unabashed patriots and proud Americans here on the Patrick Johnson Show. It's not a perfect union, but by golly, it's our union, and it's the best one around. So that'll be happening. That was a rather patriotic little speech there, wasn't it, Pilk?
It was. I like it.
Kind of impressed myself there a little bit. So, yes, we're looking forward to that. A full week ahead of programming and excitement as we wrap up this season of the Patrick Johnson Show. All right, big thanks today to our guest, Andrew Pomerantz, Jason Holder for chiming in. Thanks to Philip and all the other help we get behind the scenes. Coming up tomorrow, we're scheduled to have Billy Trott. We'll have Travis Hancock on Wednesday. And more to come this week as we wrap up the season of the Patrick Johnson Show. All right, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you tomorrow in the morning on TOT and back here for the PJ Show at 5 o'clock.